So beginning our day, I think I said something about this kind of theme in the last talk I gave, but I can't remember, and it's just helpful to bring up again and maybe flesh it out a bit. But I'm just referring to the two distinct kinds of happiness, in the sense of the happiness of getting what one wants and the happiness of not wanting anything. And from a perspective of Dhamma, then of course that happiness of not wanting anything is a much more refined and stable kind of happiness. Because there's always a constant search of trying to get what one wants, trying to manipulate the world around so that one can get what one wants. And then also what one wants is also like wanting not to have something is another kind of want. I don't want this to be like how it is. And that is, it's tiring. The happiness of not wanting anything is it's not just a blank nothing, but it's this sense of not being, say, driven by one's wants, not being obsessed by one's wants, being able to frame one's wants with some wisdom and clarity, some mindfulness, awareness of what's happening, what the process is, and reflection on on outcomes and circumstances, so that it's even the Buddha wanted certain things. I mean, he didn't just sort of get enlightened under the Bodhi tree and sit there for 45 years because he didn't want to go anywhere or do anything. He did a lot. He accomplished a lot. But it's the kind of wanting that's associated with something beneficial, that's fruitful, that's conducive to, say, his own welfare and happiness and the welfare and happiness of others. So that it's that sense of the happiness of not wanting anything is being able to not being driven by this and one's wants, desires, obsessions, and being able to understand the process, because it's there is like in the Abhidhamma, there is a delineation of the process of our sense contact and the mind, and it and there is an innate, natural part of that process, where there's ita-ramana, anitta-ramana, which is like it's like a liking and a disliking, or a wanting and not wanting. But it's more like an inclination as opposed to a craving, and it's the problem. Craving comes in when we invest in that. Ooh, that's interesting, or ooh, I don't like that. Then we invest in it, and we end up getting entangled in craving. But there's a basic part and function of our perceptual process has that element of inclinations. It doesn't mean they're trustworthy. It just means they're there, and that's what one relies on mindfulness and discernment to be able to reflect a bit more clearly on those inclinations and is it useful, is it beneficial? So that sense of but the feeling that arises from that is that one not being invested in that wanting, then there's an open, clear space to move into. There's a tremendous amount of freedom there. Whereas in general, our wanting locks us into reactivity or into viewpoints, opinions, and we end up kind of hemmed in by those. But the being able to be clear and not investing in that movement through craving, then there's tremendous freedom, and that happiness is very stable, very really fruitful. So just to pick that up as a theme and investigate as one goes through the day, because there's, as I said, that kind of inclinations of the mind toward liking, disliking, wanting, not wanting. That's in its kind of initial, kind of primitive form. It's always there, but then. How much do we invest in it? How much do we get locked into it? How much are we a slave to it? And as long as we're bound to those those reactions, and then there's not much room for happiness.